For my daughter's 8th birthday, my parents sent her a pink dress as a gift. She seemed happy at first, but then froze. "What is this, Mommy?" I looked closer and my hands started shaking. I didn't cry. I did this. The next morning, my parents were calling nonstop. It showed up on a Thursday. Brown box, slightly crushed on one corner. Maya's name written across the label in my mother's handwriting. The careful, slanted kind she only uses for packages and passive-aggressive Christmas cards. At the time, I thought nothing of it. Just a late birthday gift. No big deal. I opened the door, brought it inside, set it down on the table next to some leftover cereal bowls and one half-colored unicorn drawing. The usual chaos. Maya saw it and lit up. She loves mail. You could wrap a rock in tissue paper and she'd still thank you like you paid off her student loans. She was wearing mismatched socks and had toothpaste on her chin. I told her to open it. So she did. Inside, one layer of white tissue paper, neatly folded. Classic Mom. She peeled it back and gasped. "It's a dress," she said, holding it up. Pink, soft. Little embroidered stars near the hem. It looked like something you'd wear to a fairy tale-themed brunch or a third-grade piano recital. Not my style, but Maya beamed like it was the greatest thing she'd ever seen. "Wow," my husband said, glancing up from his laptop. "Fancy." "She'll grow out of it in a month," I said, but not unkindly. Maya twirled. The hem spun in a soft circle. I almost said it was sweet, and then she stopped. Not slowly, not dramatically, just stopped. She stared at the front of the dress like it had spoken, her eyebrows pulled together. "Mommy," she said, "what is this?" I stood up, crossed the room. She turned the dress around so I could see. And that was the moment. That was the moment everything inside me started to rattle. It was small, white thread, tidy cursive, centered just above the chest. Little Emily. My hands started shaking before I even registered what I was looking at. "What's wrong?" Maya asked. Her voice was quiet, uncertain. My husband came over, squinting at the dress. "Weird. Maybe they meant to personalize it and got the name wrong." "Is it a mistake?" Maya asked. "Did they think I was someone else?" She looked at me again. "Who's Emily?" I didn't answer, not out loud. Just thought, we don't speak about Emily in this house. Not because we can't, because we know better. "I don't mind," Maya said. "It's still pretty. I can wear it even if the name is wrong." "No," I said. "You're not putting it on." "But it's fine." "You're not wearing it." I didn't say it sharply, but I didn't leave room for questions. I took the dress, not roughly, just firmly, and I walked out, didn't slam a door, didn't explain, just walked into the bedroom and shut myself in. I sat on the edge of the bed, dress still in hand. My hands were shaking so hard the fabric rippled. It wasn't the same dress, but it looked exactly like the one I remembered. Same color, same collar, same embroidered stars. They didn't save it. They had it made, and stitched her name onto it like that was normal, like that was kind. My breathing went weird. You know that feeling when your chest feels too small for the air? That. I held it in my lap like it might say something else. Outside the door, silence. Maya didn't follow. She's used to giving me space when I need it. I hate that she's learned that skill so young. I stared at the name. And here's the part I'm supposed to explain. Why it mattered. Why it wrecked me. Why I sat in a room holding a brand new pink dress like it was a live grenade. But I won't explain. Not yet. Because you'd think I was overreacting. You'd think, it's just a name. It's just embroidery. It's just a dress. You'd be wrong. That name changed everything. That dress? That was the line. After this, nothing would be the same. Not between me and my parents. Emily is my sister. But that's just the start of it. Before Maya ever saw that dress, I'd seen it before. Not exactly, but close enough that my hands remembered the shape before my mind did. There was a moment, a room, a celebration, and a dress almost exactly like this one. That's where it started. It wasn't just the name. That was the first thing I noticed, sure. The cursive white embroidery stitched across the front of the dress like a label on something factory sealed. Little Emily. But it wasn't just the name. It was everything else. The fabric, the collar, the length, the stars. I hadn't seen that dress in 20 years, but somehow my body remembered it before my brain did. Like the air shifted. Like it carried something old. They hadn't bought this off a rack. They hadn't stumbled on it by chance. They had it made. Custom. Carefully. Like a memory they wanted to wear again. I sat with it for a long time. Not crying. Not speaking. Just sitting. And at some point, quietly, I thought, this wasn't for Maya. It was for them. Because this wasn't the first time they gave a pink dress to a little girl in the family and acted like it meant something. It was my birthday. I was turning 6. We had company over. Aunts, cousins, neighbors who weren't really friends but showed up anyway because my mother had a gift for guilt invitations. But no one said happy birthday to me because Emily had just gotten into a dance group, a youth program with a name like Star Steps or Sparkle Academy. Something sparkly and big. The celebration wasn't for me. Not really. Emily came out in her pink dress, the original one, spinning like she'd been born with stage lights in her eyes. Everyone clapped. Someone took a photo. My mother beamed like she'd won an award. I stood at the edge of the room holding a juice box. At one point I walked up to her, my mom, and said quietly, "It's my birthday." She didn't look at me when she said it. "Don't make this about you." I remember walking back to the couch and sitting down. I remember thinking, oh. It wasn't the first time Emily outshined me. It was just the first time I realized I would never catch up. She was 2 years older, but the space between us felt endless. She had the kind of charm that made teachers lean in and listen. She could walk into a room and come out with everyone's admiration stuffed into her back pocket. She wasn't cruel. Not exactly. She just absorbed all the light. And the rest of us got used to squinting. I used to copy her handwriting, her posture, her laugh. I thought maybe there was a formula, and if I cracked it, I'd earn the same warmth. But no matter how hard I tried, I never learned how to be golden. Years passed. We grew up. Emily floated through jobs and cities and relationships, always landing just long enough to be admired, never long enough to take root. She didn't disappear. She just moved faster than the rest of us could track. Then she announced she was starting a brand. Not just a store, a brand. It was going to be fashion-forward, ethically sourced, high-impact, low-waste. She had the vocabulary down so well I almost believed she knew what it meant. She showed us a website with mock-ups of handmade pieces and professionally photographed samples. She said she had suppliers lined up, said she had customers waiting, said she just needed capital to scale up production. It wasn't a donation. She was very clear about that. It was an investment. She promised a full return within a year, maybe triple, depending on how quickly the second collection took off. The first payments were small, a few hundred here, 1,000 there. She was careful not to ask for too much too fast. She gave updates, screenshots, what looked like invoices, even buyer messages. Then came bigger asks. She said a boutique in Los Angeles had placed a bulk order and she needed to front the manufacturing costs. Then a showroom in New York. Then some influencer who wanted exclusivity. We believed her. My parents gave what they could. I gave more than I should have. Because she wasn't just my sister. She was the star. And when she shines, we all get a little light. Then one day she stopped replying. There were delays, missed calls, messages that said she was overwhelmed, that she just needed a little more time. Then she went quiet, and the money went with her. At first, we thought something had happened, something serious, some emergency, but nothing ever came. What did come was a letter, short, flat. It said she had moved abroad, that she needed time and space, that she hoped we'd understand. No apology, just that. And slowly, painfully, we began to understand the rest. There was no business, no production, no suppliers, no orders, just a website. And behind it, nothing. She had taken the money, all of it, and spent it. Not on the business, not on materials or manufacturing or marketing. On herself, on travel, on hotels and gifts and God knows what else. She took everything we gave her and vanished. The damage wasn't just financial, it was legal. I started getting calls about accounts I never opened, credit I never used. She'd taken loans in my name, cards, small at first, then larger. Always one step ahead. The police said it was a civil matter. The bank said it was my word against hers. The damage sat there, growing interest. My parents were broken. That's what they told me, over and over. Like if they said it enough, I might forget they were the ones who handed her the matches. I helped them. I stepped in. I picked up extra shifts, covered part of their mortgage, paid off their overdue bills one by one until my hands shook at the end of every month. And all this time, I thought we were aligned. I thought we had all learned the same hard lesson until the comments started. Maya looks just like Emily did at that age. She has her spark. Maybe she'll dance too. At first I thought it was nostalgia. Then the gifts came. The books, the outfits, the soft push toward old familiar shapes. And then came the dress, and everything that followed. I didn't react the way I thought I might. No yelling, no sharp breath. Just a stillness that settled in my spine and wouldn't leave. I picked up my phone instead. Still sitting on the edge of the bed, dressed beside me like a sleeping ghost, I opened my banking app. Then another. Then another. Each one blinking open like a polite assistant asking what I needed. I canceled the grocery card reloads. I canceled the monthly transfers. I canceled the half payment I'd been making toward their mortgage. Gone. 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 It was quiet, mechanical, almost soothing, like deleting old voicemails. I didn't even pause to second-guess it. My body was operating on something older than thought. I left the apps open a few moments longer than necessary, just to remind myself it was finally over. Then I stood up, folded the dress, laid it carefully on the desk in the corner, and went to bed. The next morning, I woke up before the sun. Maya was still asleep. My husband was up, making coffee, bleary-eyed but already in his work shirt. "You sure?" he asked when he saw me holding the dress. I nodded. "I won't be long. Can you get her ready for school?" "Of course." He didn't ask anything else. I folded the dress again, this time into a plain brown paper bag. Added a handwritten note. 3 short sentences, each one heavier than it looked. "You lost one daughter. I'm the one who stayed. You just never noticed. Don't contact me again. I'm not covering your debts anymore. If you want someone to bail you out, ask Emily." The drive was quiet. Not long, but long enough for me to second-guess it. I didn't. Their house looked exactly the same, which felt like a joke I wasn't in on. Same overgrown rosemary bush out front. Same cracked flower pot. Same dent in the garage door from the year Dad tried to back out too fast on New Year's Eve. I got out, walked to the porch, set the bag down. No doorbell, No passive-aggressive knock. Just me, standing there, then walking away. The first call came at 9:42 a.m., then another. By 10 o'clock, I had 6 missed calls and 2 voicemails. By 11 o'clock, I stopped counting. I listened to one of the voicemails just to get a taste. My mother's voice, sharp with disbelief. "What is this? You're returning a birthday gift? What kind of message is that?" Then my father, background grumbling. "And what does she mean, she's not going to pay anymore? What the hell is she talking about?" More calls, more texts, most of them unanswered, some of them unrepeatable. At 12:27, I picked up. I don't know why. Maybe because part of me wanted to hear them say it to my face. Or maybe I wanted to say something back. My mother didn't waste time. "You're being cruel," she snapped. "You're doing this to punish us for something that wasn't even our fault." Really? She fooled all of us. And yet you keep asking me to pay for it. She's your sister. She was your favorite. Don't be petty. That one almost made me laugh. Almost. "We lost her," my mother said, quieter now. "You know that. We lost a daughter. You didn't lose her. She stole everything you gave her and ran. So now you're going to take Maya from us too?" I sat with that. Let it echo a bit. "You don't want Maya," I said. "You want Emily. You're just trying to find her in someone else." "That's not fair." "No," I said. "What's not fair is that I was the one who stayed. I was the one who cleaned up after her. I worked 2 jobs. I sent you money every month. And none of it was ever enough, was it?" "That's not true." "Then name one time you looked at me and didn't see a disappointment." Silence. "Exactly. You're being dramatic. I'm being done." I hung up. Then I blocked the number, deleted all the calendar reminders, rent help, grocery card, transfer for water bill. I opened a blank spreadsheet, named it things that are mine. There wasn't much in it yet, but for once, it was clean. It wasn't peace, but it was mine. I thought it was over, that the worst had already happened. I was wrong. I thought the dress was the turning point, the phone calls, the blocked numbers, the canceled payments. I thought that was it. The fire burned through, damage contained. But there was more coming, the kind of more that doesn't show up until you think it's safe to sit down. The kind that creeps in sideways and makes you realize the floor you were standing on wasn't actually solid. At first, it was noise. Cousins, aunts, people who hadn't spoken to me in years, suddenly finding their voice. "You really cut your parents off? Over a dress? You need to talk to someone. This isn't normal. They're your family." The texts rolled in with the same rhythm, some polite, some self-righteous, some pretending to care. One even added a praying hands emoji, which honestly felt worse than if they'd just called me names. I ignored them all. And then came the call I never expected. Unknown number, late afternoon. I was folding laundry and thinking about nothing, which was rare and nice. I almost didn't answer, but I did. "Hey." I froze. I hadn't heard that voice in 5 years, but my body remembered it immediately. "Emily." "I heard you cut them off," she said. No small talk, no apology, just that. "They told you that?" "Yeah. I've been talking to them." There it was. The part they never said. The part I hadn't even thought to ask about. "You've been talking to them this whole time?" "Pretty much." "Where have you been?" She hesitated. "Around." "Around," I repeated. "You vanished. Do you know what that was like? You didn't call. You didn't message. We didn't know if you were even alive. I needed space. You needed money." Silence. I sat down slowly, socks still in my hands. I wasn't even folding anymore, just holding them like they'd keep me grounded. You stole from us. I didn't. You did. You told us it was an investment. You promised returns. You had fake clients, fake invoices, fake everything. And you took everything we gave you. I didn't mean... You wrecked my credit. You opened accounts in my name. Do you know what that did to me? I had to work 2 jobs. I couldn't qualify for a mortgage. I had to put everything I wanted on hold so I could pay off what you did. She breathed in sharply, but said nothing. You ruined us, I said, low and flat. And then you disappeared. I didn't know what else to do. Try starting with sorry. They need you, she said suddenly, deflecting like she always did. They're getting older. Things aren't easy. So why don't you help them? Another pause. It's complicated. I can't right now. Things have been tight. You were always the stable one. Was I? You have a job, a home, a family. You're good at this. I stared at the floor. My hands had gone still in my lap. I could hear her breathing on the other end. Controlled, soft, practiced. They don't say it, but they appreciate what you've done, she said. I just thought you should know they're struggling. I already know. Then why cut them off? Because I'm tired. Everyone gets tired, she said, and for a second I thought she might actually sound human. But that doesn't mean you give up. No, I said. But it means I finally start choosing myself. Something you've always been great at. She didn't respond. Then, if you want to throw everything away because you're angry, that's on you. And just like that, she hung up. I stared at the phone for a long time. Part of me had still wanted it to be different. Even now. Even after everything. But she hadn't called to reconnect. She'd called to press a button that used to work, and when it didn't work, she hung up, just like she always did when things got hard. The next morning, a knock at the door. It was early. I was making coffee. Maya was getting dressed upstairs. My husband opened the door before I could stop him, and there they were, my parents. My mother held a cake box. My father stood behind her like a statue with tax problems. We just want to talk, she said. We don't want to fight. I didn't invite them in. I didn't even move. I just stood in the kitchen, coffee half poured, arms crossed. You talked to Emily, I said. They didn't deny it. We have. For a while. How long? Since that first year she left. So the whole time. She needed us. And you needed money, which you got from me. So you used mine to help her. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. My father finally spoke. She's in trouble. Real trouble. She's scared. She's always scared. She made mistakes. But she's your sister. And I'm your daughter. They didn't say anything. I was the one who stayed. I was the one who helped. And you let me think I was helping you. You were. No. I was helping her. You just didn't say it out loud. We didn't know how to tell you. I laughed. It was a small, bitter sound. You watched me work 2 jobs. You watched me cover your bills. And you said thank you with a straight face while wiring money to the person who caused it. It's not that simple. Then explain it. Make it simple. Make it make sense. They couldn't. She's our daughter too, my mother said finally. So am I. My husband hadn't said a word since opening the door. He stood behind me now, arms folded, gaze flat. Not angry, just finished. I think it's time for you to leave, he said. They didn't argue. They just looked at me like I was the one who'd shattered something. And maybe I had. It's been over a year. I haven't spoken to them since that morning at the door. No calls, no texts, Nothing from them and nothing from me. I heard through someone, a second cousin maybe, or one of those family friends who still thinks group emails are a personality, that Emily came back. Apparently, things abroad didn't work out. When the money stopped, so did the stability. She's living with them now. I guess that makes sense. She always knew where to land. They're selling the house. Too much upkeep. Too many bills. It's not the first time she left them broke, but it might be the first time they noticed. I didn't ask where they're moving. I don't want to know. Maya doesn't ask about them anymore. She used to. Little things, like whether Grandma would come to her next recital. But after a while, the questions stopped. Kids know more than we think. Now it's just us. The three of us. We make pancakes on Sundays. Maya plays loud music while she brushes her teeth. My husband fixed the cabinet hinge I'd been ignoring for years. I sleep. Real sleep. The kind where you wake up and feel like you've landed somewhere safe. There's no pink dress in the closet. No comparisons hanging in the air. Just Maya being Maya. Just me, finally being something other than the one who stayed. Was it too much? Was it not enough? Feel free to leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. My parents told me there wouldn't be enough space for me at the annual family retreat. Then they invited 118 people, all 6 of my siblings, their families, in-laws, even cousins and friends. I didn't say a word. I took action instead. 9 hours later, my mom was screaming. "So, how was the retreat?" my friend Mia asked, like she was commenting on the weather. I blinked. "What retreat?" She laughed a little, then tilted her head. "Your sister posted about it. Looked amazing. Matching shirts and everything." She pulled out her phone. And there it was. A photo taken from above. A drone shot, obviously. A sprawling resort tucked against a lake. 118 people posed in tidy rows like someone was trying to break a family record. A banner stretched across the middle. 2025 Annual Family Retreat. I recognized every single face. My parents, front and center. My 6 siblings. Their partners. Their kids. A few cousins I hadn't seen in years. Even the in-laws. There was a color scheme. There were laminated name tags. Everyone. Except me. "Oh," I said lightly, forcing a smile. "Yeah, I wasn't there." Technically, Mia blinked. "Oh, got it. Got it." She started to say something else, but I waved it off with a small shrug and a sip of wine. It didn't seem worth explaining. Not there. Not with 6 people chatting about oat milk and vacation deals across the table. Not with the shrimp skewers still going around like everything was normal. So I did what I've done for years. I smiled. I nodded. I laughed at a story I wasn't really listening to. I made eye contact. Tilted my head. I was composed. My heart, on the other hand, was sprinting in circles like it had just remembered something urgent. 10 minutes later, I excused myself to the bathroom. The hallway light buzzed overhead. I closed the door, locked it quietly, and sat on the edge of the tub. It smelled like lavender soap and someone's hair gel. I opened my phone. Instagram first. There were photos, dozens of them. Lakeside brunches, campfire nights, my brothers holding toddlers, my sisters in matching sundresses with retreat crew hats. One shot of my parents slow dancing under string lights. Someone had coordinated all this. A spreadsheet existed. This wasn't casual. I checked my sister's story. There was even a hashtag, #retreat to reconnect. Then I remembered the phone call, a few weeks earlier. I'd asked my mom, offhandedly, "Hey, are we doing anything this year for the retreat?" She'd sounded rushed. "We're just keeping it small," she said. "Not enough space for everyone." Not enough space. Right. I hadn't thought much of it at the time. She said it so breezily, and I've been trained, in that quiet middle child way, not to push, not to take up space. So I didn't ask follow-up questions. I didn't ask for dates. I didn't ask who was going. I just assumed I'd hear if something was happening. I kept scrolling. 118 people. A group photo where my absence stood out like a missing tooth. And the stupidest part was, this wasn't even new. When I was 10, there was a cousin's birthday party that got too full for me. When I was 15, I found out the family went to a lake house weekend. My name wasn't on the group message. And once, I remember helping pack favor bags for one of these retreats. I ironed the stupid t-shirts. And yet here I was, still surprised. Still hoping, I guess. The tears came fast. Quiet. Controlled. I didn't sob. That would have felt too theatrical. No, these were the kind of tears that slip out before you even realize they've started. Not loud enough to hear, just enough to sting. There was a knock on the bathroom door. "You okay?" Mia's voice. I cleared my throat. "Yeah, stomach thing. Be right out." She paused. "Want me to get you anything?" "No, I'm good." "Thanks." I didn't move for another minute. Then I stood, washed my face, and tried to repair the damage. My mascara had smudged just slightly. I wiped under my eyes with a piece of toilet paper that shredded immediately and laughed a little at myself. In the mirror, I didn't look angry or sad, just blank. I pulled my shoulders back, gave myself a practiced smile. Not warm, not fake, just enough to pass. And then I stepped back out into the hallway like I hadn't just had my stomach drop through the floor. The dinner party was still in full swing. Someone was laughing. Someone was opening a bottle of wine. Someone was explaining the best way to roast cauliflower. I sat back down, accepted dessert, smiled, played normal. Nobody noticed. But something had shifted. Something deep. I didn't need to explain what they did. I didn't even need to ask why. I didn't know it at the time, but I was 24 hours away from doing something that would change everything. I used to think loneliness was something that happened when you had no one. Turns out, it's much worse when you're surrounded by people, family even, and still feel like an uninvited guest in your own life. I'm number 4 out of 7. That's not middle child, that's median. That's, we forgot she was in the car territory, which, by the way, did happen once. They remembered before leaving the parking lot, so I guess it doesn't count. My family is big, loud, and musical. Like some chaotic Von Trapp reboot, minus the Nazis, but still kind of oppressive. Everyone sings. Some play instruments. 2 have made careers in music. Family dinners came with harmonies. Talent shows were mandatory. Group performances were recorded and uploaded to YouTube. I'm tone deaf. I didn't know that for a while. I thought I was normal. I sang in the shower, hummed along in the car. Then one day, around age 7, I joined in during a birthday chorus, and my older sister winced like I'd stabbed her with a flute. "Clara, please," she said. "You're flattening everything." I didn't know what that meant, but the laughter told me enough. It became a running gag. Clara the noise polluter. Clara the vibe killer. At one point, my brother made a chart ranking all 7 siblings by musical ability. I wasn't on it. The caption said, "Some things can't be measured." I used to try and be funny. I thought that was the one other thing I could maybe do, but my jokes always landed flat. Dry humor doesn't hit well in a room full of people who think slapstick is the pinnacle of sophistication. They coined a term, Clara joke. It meant a joke no one laughs at. Even used it on each other. "That was such a Clara joke," they'd groan, even when I wasn't in the room. One time I asked my mom if she thought I was funny. She smiled like I'd asked if I had wings. "You're clever," she said. "But you're not exactly entertaining." I stopped trying after that. At school, I'd test out my humor with friends, but always pulled back, afraid of the silence. I learned to be quiet, helpful, pleasant. That worked better. Years later, I started writing things down. Funny thoughts mostly, bits of awkwardness turned into sketches, observations that made me laugh. I still didn't think of myself as a funny person, just someone trying to figure out why nothing ever felt quite right. Then, one day, I tried performing them. Nothing major. Local open mic night. Tiny venue. Bad lighting. A mic that crackled if you breathed wrong. But the crowd laughed. Not politely. Not pity laughed. Actual, surprised laughter. I got addicted immediately. It took months before I told anyone in my family. I'd been performing semi-regularly at that point. Nothing viral, nothing major. But real people, real laughs, real sets. It felt like something. I still remember the day I mentioned it. We were sitting around after dinner, my dad retelling some story for the third time, and everyone playing their usual roles. I cleared my throat. So, I've been doing some comedy. They blinked at me. Like performing? My younger sister asked, smirking. Yeah, stand up. A little club downtown. My brother actually laughed. You? On stage? Well, it's not a stadium, I said. It's mostly sticky floors and expired beer, but yes, a stage. They laughed again, not in a cruel way, in the way you laugh when someone tells you they're training for space camp at 30. You've never been funny, my mom said gently. But that's sweet. It's good to have hobbies. I wanted to believe it was just surprise, that once they saw me perform, they'd get it. They'd be proud. Maybe even change how they saw me. Maybe the label of unfunny would finally get scratched off. I invited them. I even picked a good show. Friday night, decent turnout, a supportive crowd. I wore a new top, rehearsed my set to death, and got there early to claim seats. I kept glancing at the door as people filtered in. A couple from my last set waved. Someone complimented my shoes. The room filled slowly but steadily, and I kept checking the door, right up until the host said my name. No one came. I scanned the room one last time as I walked up. Not a single familiar face. It hit me harder than I thought it would. Not like a punch, but like a vacuum. Like all the air in the room suddenly decided to be somewhere else. But I smiled. I opened with a throwaway line. Got a laugh. Found my rhythm. And I crushed it. That night, someone came up and told me they hadn't laughed like that in months. Another asked where they could find me online. I should have felt proud, but all I could think about was the empty seat in the third row I'd reserved for my mom. Someone once said that the life of a comedian is making other people laugh while you're crying inside. That night, it felt especially true. After that, I stopped inviting them. Not out of spite, out of self-preservation. They never asked about it again. Occasionally, someone would mention a new song they'd released, or a relative who had booked a tour, and someone would say, "Clara's got her little comedy thing," like I was knitting hats for squirrels. I still smiled, nodded, laughed at their jokes. But inside, something shifted. I stopped hoping they'd show up. I stopped expecting the punchline to be anything but me. I didn't plan to do it. That's the funny part, or the ironic part, or maybe just the human part. After I found out about the retreat, the one my entire family attended while I stayed home eating leftovers and pretending not to care, I went home, opened my laptop, and stared at a blinking cursor for 20 minutes. Then I wrote something. Not my usual kind of funny. Not polished. Just honest. The next night, I had a set at the club. I was going to do my usual material. Awkward dating stories, my theory that oat milk is just cardboard in liquid form, and how people who say "let's" circle back deserve a special corner in hell. But when they called my name, I left the notes in my bag and walked on stage with something new. Most comedians, I said into the mic. Get into stand-up because their families laughed at their jokes. I got into comedy because mine didn't. At all. They actually created a category for it. Clara joke. You know, like a dad joke, but meaner. And apparently contagious, people laughed. So I kept going. In my house, if you told a bad joke, it wasn't just a flop. It was a full-blown scandal. I should have had my own documentary. The Girl Who Wasn't Funny. That one got applause. I talked about how my siblings could all sing, how even the toddlers in the family had rhythm, and how I was basically the designated audience member. The family hype woman, minus the hype. And then I said it. Last week, my parents told me there wasn't enough space for me at the annual family retreat. Then they invited 118 people. That line got a full gasp-laugh combo. My favorite reaction. I let it hang in the air a second longer. So yeah, I guess there wasn't enough space. Not at the resort. Just in their idea of who belongs, I got off stage to a standing ovation. But I didn't feel triumphant. I felt like I'd just yanked out a splinter that had been festering under my skin for years. It hurt, but I could finally breathe. The next morning, at 7:03 a.m., my phone rang. My mother's name on the screen. I let it ring. Then it rang again. And again. The fifth time, I picked up, mostly out of morbid curiosity. She didn't say hello. She didn't pause. She went straight into screaming. "How dare you!" she said. "Someone saw your little show," she hissed. "They told us what you said. You humiliated us." Not "are you okay?" Not even a half-hearted question about what I'd been thinking. Just full-throttle, high-volume fury. "It was a 10-minute set," I said. I didn't name names. "You didn't have to," she snapped. "Everyone knows who we are. Your siblings have reputations to protect. You're dragging us through the mud just because you didn't get your way." "You mean just because I wasn't invited?" I said dryly. "Or are we still pretending that didn't happen?" She didn't answer. "Do you know what your brother said?" she continued. "He said he might lose a gig over this. And your sister is mortified. She says people are calling her fake online. So, are you saying people believed me?" Silence. "I see." She hung up. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel angry. I felt something colder than that. Like I'd just been told, for the 100th time, that their image was more important than me. By lunchtime, the group messages started blowing up. My sister sent a novel-length rant about how she'd always supported me, which was hilarious considering she once told a boyfriend I was too emotionally flat to be funny. My brother sent me a voice memo that sounded like a press release wrapped in passive aggression. "I think it's really toxic that you're bringing family stuff into your brand. You've always struggled with boundaries." Right. Boundaries. Like the one that said I shouldn't come to a retreat with 118 people because I took up too much space. A cousin chimed in to say she thought I was exaggerating. "It was probably just a misunderstanding," she said, like I'd misread an accidental mass invitation to everyone but me. One aunt said she was praying for me. Another message to say I'd broken my mother's heart. And here's the thing. Part of me wanted to explain, to clarify, to say, "Hey, I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I was just trying to finally tell the truth." But the truth is, they weren't asking for clarification. They were asking me to shut up, to play the quiet middle child who takes the hit and keeps the peace. And I was tired. That night I filmed a video. It wasn't a stand-up set. It wasn't a sketch. It was just me, sitting on my couch in a hoodie, holding a mug I wasn't drinking from. "Hi," I said. "So, I guess some of you have seen my latest set." And apparently it upset some people. I paused, took a breath. Here's the thing. If your family tells you your jokes aren't funny for 20 years, and then one night hundreds of strangers laugh until they cry, you're allowed to talk about it. You're allowed to heal however you need to. I didn't get loud. I didn't name anyone. I didn't need to. I just told the truth. I used to think I was the least funny person in the world, because my family said so. And then I stepped on stage and people laughed at me, with me, for me. And I realized I wasn't unfunny. I just wasn't their kind of funny. And maybe that's okay. I looked into the camera. Also, I added, if you throw a 118-person retreat and say there's no space for your daughter, maybe don't act shocked when she talks about it. I posted it, closed my laptop, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I needed to brace for someone else's reaction. I just sat there and waited. The video didn't just land, it detonated. I posted it at midnight and figured it might get a few thousand views, maybe even go a little viral. I underestimated people's appetite for dry, unflinching honesty delivered in a hoodie. By noon, it had over 300,000 views. By 6 p.m., I was trending under the hashtag Clara Said It. By the next morning, it hit 500,000. And by the time I opened my front door to grab coffee, there they were. My parents. 2 of my siblings. Standing on my porch like I was the final boss in a video game they never bothered to level up for. You need to take it down, my dad said, without a hello. He was red-faced. My mom was tight-lipped and visibly vibrating. My brother, let's call him Chad, because of course it's Chad, stood with his arms crossed like he was posing for a disciplinary poster. You've humiliated this family, my mother said. You made us a joke. I didn't make you a joke, I said, calm as a grave. You did. I just put it in a punchline. Chad stepped forward. You can't just post things like that without consequences. It's defamatory. You didn't seem to mind when I invited you to my shows and nobody showed up, I replied. Now suddenly you're subscribers? We came here to reason with you, my dad said, glancing toward the neighbor's yard. Can we come in? No, I said, flat. And just a heads up, if you start yelling, I will film you. And I'll post it. They blinked like I'd slapped them. You're threatening your own family? My mom gasped. No, I said. I'm protecting myself from the same people who cut me out of a 118-person retreat and then got mad when I mentioned it on stage. Chad muttered something under his breath. I raised my phone and opened the camera. They backed off like I'd brandished a weapon. Bye now, I said, and shut the door. They stood there for a few more seconds. I watched from the peephole. My mom looked like she wanted to scream. My dad looked like he wanted to disappear. Chad looked like he wanted to sue someone, which turned out to be prophetic, because 3 days later, I got a legal letter. Well, legal-ish, typed in Times New Roman, with weird spacing and more typos than a phishing scam. Sent via email with the subject line, Urgent Family Concern. It was from Chad. Apparently, he decided to draft a cease and desist letter demanding I take the video down immediately or face legal repercussions for deformation. Yes, deformation. I didn't even know whether to be insulted or impressed. To be clear, Chad does have a law degree, but it's in international trade law, and he currently works in corporate compliance for a shipping company. The most aggressive thing he's ever sued is probably a broken office chair. I didn't respond to the letter. I made a video instead. I didn't name him. I didn't show the actual document. I just read a totally fictional cease and desist letter with comical typos and added dramatic music for flair. I've been asked to remove my video, I said in the voiceover, because apparently pointing out that I wasn't invited to my own family's retreat is now a federal crime. Somewhere, the First Amendment is weeping. The video went up on a Thursday. By Friday, I had 900,000 views and 3 interview requests. People loved it, especially the deadpan delivery and the fake signature I read aloud. Respectfully yours, Chad the Enforcer, Esquio. On Saturday, I blocked everyone. All of them. I'd held out hope that maybe, just maybe, someone in the family would reach out and say, "Hey, we messed up," or "I see you now." But no, the messages were all about damage control, about optics, about embarrassment. No one said sorry. No one asked how I felt. So I gave them the silence they never earned but definitely deserved. Group chats. Exited. Facebook. Locked. Instagram. Archived. Even Spotify. Scrubbed of every playlist we'd ever shared. My mom sent me one final message before she got blocked. "You've made a laughingstock of your own family. I hope you're proud." And the thing is, I wasn't proud. Not exactly. But I wasn't ashamed either. I was free. The fallout was ugly. Some of my siblings who work in music started losing small contracts. Apparently, people didn't want to be associated with a family being dragged in the public eye, which is ironic because suddenly they were also getting podcast invites. Every minor influencer with a podcast titled "Let's Talk About It" or "Raw and Real" wanted them on to discuss growing up with Clara. A few accepted. They didn't use my name directly, but let's just say when your brother goes on a podcast called Family First and says, "Some people just thrive on playing the victim," it's not exactly a mystery who he means. Meanwhile, YouTubers did what YouTubers do best. They dug. Someone found my mom's Facebook. Another found the resort name on a cousin's tagged photo and connected the dots. Soon, a few creators started reaching out to the family. One even showed up at their house to ask for comment. 2 weeks later, my parents sold the house. The official reason was downsizing. But we both know better. They moved to another town quietly. One of my sisters deleted her social media. Another posted a vague statement about taking a break from public life. And me? I didn't say a word. I didn't celebrate. I didn't throw a party. I just kept making videos. Not about them, at least not directly. Just stories, observations, skits. The kind of things that made people feel seen, made them laugh. And when I looked at the comments, I saw something I never got growing up. Relatable. "Thanks for saying what I couldn't. I thought I was the only one." And for the first time, I felt not alone, not unwanted, not a Clara joke, just Clara. And that was enough. Fast forward a year. I'm still no contact with my family, and honestly, I don't miss the noise. I've got real friends now. People who laugh with me, not at me. People who see me. And the comedy? It took off. I quit my day job, started touring, and for the first time, I wake up excited about what I do. People come up to me after shows and say, "I thought it was just me." It never is. Sometimes I still wonder, did I do the right thing? Or did I go too far? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.